Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. Begin transmission. This is Outer Rim Transmission, episode number 17. Back with the full crew. We're going to chat all things those Kenobi rumors that were very spicy that came out during our recording last week. So we're going to catch up on all that this week. We also have some updates on the Ahsoka series, as well as the High Republic Wave 3 was announced just a couple hours ago for Phase 1. And of course, we're going to break down the Bad Batch all on this week's episode and more. So starting it off with our week in Star Wars, I'm going to throw it over to Ben for this one this week.
Well, thanks for having us on, Chris. I would say, my week in Star Wars, it was nothing exciting. It was just, watching some Star Wars stuff here and there, throwing normally what I'll do every evening or every couple days, whatever. Just, when I'm laying down for bed and whatnot, I'll just throw on a random episode of Rebels and just let Rebels play or something till I fall asleep. And that's pretty much my week in Star Wars. Nothing exciting, just incorporating some Star Wars here and there into my daily life as, just like some background noise, basically.
Yeah, I was actually having some sort of background noise to go to sleep. Last night, I was listening to my friend over at the Geeks Attic. It was him and his buddy Adam. They were just having a little discussion on YouTube. They were talking about Darth Plagueis, about the books and stuff, and I was literally just like, my eyes were closed, not because they're not entertaining, but it was like the end of the day. I had the phone going with YouTube. So give him a quick shout out. I think he's got Red 5 reviews for Adam Bryant's channel. Does the Star Wars book reviews, and Geeks Addict does the Star Wars book reviews as well. But as far as me is concerned, I think this is more of a comical one. I don't know if you guys have seen the advertisement. You probably have because you're Star Wars fans and search Star Wars stuff on YouTube. But I keep getting this advertisement for like this Dr. Squatch or Squash bars of soap. Have you guys seen that advertisement?
Yep.
It's
I haven't seen that.
Wow, I'm surprised. Okay, yeah, it's very funny how they actually do it though, because they have like a lot of meme material. It's like guys in robes, like Jedi that looks like an Obi-Wan, and another guy's trying to look like a Sith, and they have like 4 different varieties. There's one for like Obi-Wan, one for Yoda, one for I think Darth Maul, and one other dark side one. So it's 2 light side, 2 dark side, but if you let it goes on for like almost like 5 or 10 minutes, it feels like. But it's just interesting, like looking back in the past and seeing all those advertisements for Star Wars products that the different developers or whatever would really get in on it, and some of them are really great, and they really kind of scratch that the insider baseball kind of stuff with the hardcore fans, and some of them were a little bit mainstream that just hey, Star Wars is back sort of thing. So that's mine. Nothing too exciting, but I've been noticing an ad over and over and over again. Thought I'd bring it up.
Well, I know for me, my week, just echoing the same, nothing really too exciting except for I was listening to the Star Wars radio dramas of the original trilogy. I don't know if you guys listened to those before. Those are very entertaining. I really enjoy those a lot. I was listening to last night, Empire Strikes Back. And it's nice to have like Mark Hamill do the voice of Luke Skywalker. They brought in Billy D. Williams. Of course, there's Anthony Daniels and all type of stuff. I think, but they do recast Han Solo and Leia. So they bring in, I think like Peter King and like some other lady to play those 2 characters. And I forget who plays Darth Vader, but he's a famous like black actor back in like, the 50s and 60s and 70s. But like it's really cool how they still hold up, even though they are technically radio drama, like formatting of the story. So I really enjoy those. They're on my phone. I listen to them at least like once a week, just because they're just always exciting. And nothing really too exciting when it comes to anything else. I will say at work, and I should have took a picture of this. I have a Boba Fett helmet sitting on my up on top of my desk. No lie. Actually put it on and walked around my office for like a minute or 2 with it on, just because I wanted to entertain myself. Like it was just kind of funny, and so I was like, all right, whatever, because I haven't worn this in a while, so let me just put it on there. So it was kind of cool.
What kind
That's
of Boba
awesome.
Fett helmet is it? Is it a specific brand or a custom one that somebody made?
I bought it like 4 years ago. It's just one of the basic ones where you can put it on, you can just see out of it. Nothing too crazy. Like it has the side like panel that it turns
Oh,
his like little tracking
yeah.
thing on it. But yeah, it's just a basic helmet that I bought. It's really nice. I like it.
Man, one of these episodes, you're gonna have to wear your helmet. I'll wear my Mando helmet, and Ben, you're gonna have to go pick up a helmet. We're gonna just do the entire
Yeah.
Well,
podcast with the
you,
helmet on.
I got a very quick funny story. Speaking of helmets, so back when I was in high school, up in the attic somewhere, I have a full Darth Maul mask, full wraparound head Darth Maul mask, and they we were allowed to wear costumes one week. The only thing is, I didn't have anything at the time other than the Darth Maul mask, so I literally went to school with just the Darth Maul head, and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt with it. um, but yeah, I mean, I have something too. It's just who knows where it's at.
Going back, yeah, going back, Milton, to your thing you brought up for your week in Star Wars. So, are these like 2 hour long radio dramas? So they're direct adaptations. Is there anything added or anything kind of taken
Mhm.
away from these?
Yeah. So in total, I know for Empire it's about three. New Hope's about 4, maybe 5 hours, but they're broke down to like 20 to 30 minute like chapters. If that makes sense. So there's like I think there's 13 for New Hope, about 30 to 20 minutes, and they do add some new things to the story. Like they kind of just expand it. Think about this. Like there are things in the script that they didn't put in the movie, but because it's a storytelling format with radio drama, they can go more in depth with it. So for example, in Return of the Jedi, they allude that Mara Jade Skywalker was at Jabba's palace
Yep.
during the time of all that stuff going on. Like she was like a spy there
Oh,
to try to like kill Luke Skywalker. Now we've heard that in Legends where like Mara was hired by Darth Vader to hunt down Luke at one point, and she went to Jabba's palace because she tracked him down. So they allude to that with this one specific character. They name her something else, I forget. But you're like, well, who is that woman? All of a sudden you hear about her. She interacts with like R2 or 3PO, and then she's like just leaves during all the chaos. So
oh man,
yeah.
Well,
dude.
Milton.
Real
Oh, I was
quick.
gonna say, with that story, Milton.
Hmm.
The crazy thing is, whenever those radio dramas came out, I'm not sure, but uh, a lot of the Legends books, they've alluded to Mara being on like Jabba's sail barge and around
Yep.
that time, because I remember, I mean, I don't know what Legends book it was. You probably remember uh, it was one of them where Luke was planning, they were planning the whole rescue Princess Leia thing from Jabba, and Luke played out the entire scene in his head, and then he had a vision that a redheaded woman used the Force and pulled his lightsaber from the sky when R2 shot it up, and that's why like Luke was being more vigilant for that whole scene because he was on the lookout for this potential woman who's gonna take his lightsaber in the middle of the battle.
Yeah.
Whoa. This
Yeah,
leads
no, it's,
me.
it's it's legit, Chris. Like you need to check it out, man. Like it's so I'm looking at it right now. So Star Wars episode or New Hope was released March 2nd, 1981, 13 episodes. Empire Strikes Back was 10 episodes. That was released February 14th, 1983, and Return of the Jedi was released November 5th, 1996, and that's only 6 episodes.
Oh, I was just about to say, I was like, wait a minute, this would have had to be made in the 90s if that was the case.
Hmm.
So it's
So,
interesting that they waited so long because there's like a 10-year gap or whatever between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi with those audio dramas.
yeah, so they do, like I said, they bring back Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, or like and Billy D.
Oh,
Williams. So those two guys did the first two, so Empire and New Hope, and then Peter King was the voice of Han Solo throughout all three, and then Brock Peters, that's the guy who played Darth Vader. Billy D. Williams did Lando and Empire. He didn't come back for Return of the Jedi. Guess who played Yoda? He's a famous actor.
Hmm.
John Lithgow.
Oh
He
wow.
voiced he voiced Yoda in Empire and Return of the Jedi. So it was cool to know that he did that. And so you definitely tell like they do play liberties with the story. They tried to expand upon it because think about it. to do a 5 hour, New Hope film. You have to you got to add some things. You got to expand them out. Like for example, in New Hope, they show I think not Tarkin, but another Imperial officer going to Alderaan before Leia and her dad left to go off to find Obi-Wan. He goes to Alderaan, he figures out that Leia and Organa are part of the rebellion. They wound up killing this general,
Huh.
just to protect the secret of of the rebels. It was crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah, you guys got to check them out, man. They're legit.
Oh man.
Like
Oh
like the
man.
music, the music's awesome. Every chapter starts off like the movie. They play the intro music, and then the narrator tells the story of that particular chapter, what's happening at that point. It's dope.
That's sweet. I'm gonna definitely check those out. I mean, I'm always looking for something to listen
They're
to
on
when I'm lifting
they're all
or
on
whatever.
YouTube. Yeah, they're all on
Sweet.
YouTube. So I download the MP3 versions, but what you want to do is you type it in. I think some guy meshed them all to well, he took all the chapters for each movie and meshed them all together, so there's no
Mhm.
breaks. You just hear a 5 hour radio drama.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow, that's awesome.
so check them out.
Yeah, because like I said, I just finished the Shatterpoint novel and really enjoyed the audio book version of that. So, audio with Star Wars is just so fun because you have such iconic sounds, such iconic music.
Hmm.
It makes sense to have lots of content in that realm of things, and it's great to see that they're still producing content pretty regularly um, in that realm of things. So, big disclaimer going into our news, as you guys have read by the title, if you don't want to know anything going into the Kenobi series, then you might want to fast forward this a little bit because we are going to be talking about some rumored casts. Now, mind you, as we said when we first started doing this podcast, we're only going to report on sites that have a lot of reputation and are backed up by, sources that are knowledgeable and whatnot. So this report comes to us from Cinelinx. If you guys, there's no, for the spoiler alert on this, there's no plot, reveals or anything. It's just certain characters that, well, one of them you might have expected to see, but it could still be a surprise. So knowing that, if you want to, again, skip forward, go ahead and do so probably about 20 minutes ahead. So if you guys are still here watching / listening, this report broke out from Jordan Mason over at Cinelinx.com, and we'll break this down piece by piece because there's really three big parts, at least from this first article. The first one is Princess Leia will be a fulcrum of what gets Kenobi moving. She is going to be the catalyst for this entire story, it sounds like. So it's reported that this actress is going to be playing a young Princess Leia, and her name is Vivian Lyra Blair. I am not sure if there's anything that I've actually watched that has had her in it. At this point in time, we are 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, so you can expect her to be about 9 or 10 years old at this point. So what do you guys think about this being kind of the catalyst to get Kenobi moving here? Is she going to be on Alderaan? Is she going to be threatened by Inquisitors and he hears about her and he knows that she's out there and he's got to go intervene? I'll throw it over to Milton, man, because we were just literally disconnecting from our Skype as this news broke, so we haven't actually heard any of your thoughts about this yet.
Right. How do I feel about this casting, or even just his idea of it?
The idea of Leia, yeah.
I mean, I think if they know how to organically tell the story to include a young Leia in the story and have a purpose for her, then I'll accept it and I'll be okay with it. Now if they try to shoehorn her in just to say, hey, we got a cameo of Leia and we see Bail Organa with her, I don't know how I feel about that. Now I think I'd be more happy if they actually brought in Jimmy Smits, who originally plays Bail Organa, and he's actually a critical part of the story. Then that would make sense for Leia to be around, because I'm assuming that character would be protecting her all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be okay with it as long as they do it right and it's organic and if it fits the story like it should. Again, if they're going to just give us Easter eggs or try to shoehorn us in it, I don't know. I guess I'd have to accept it. It just depends on how they do it. But I trust that, and I believe Deborah Chow is doing this series, right? Obi-Wan?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I trust Deborah Chow. I trust that she's going to tell a concise, smart narrative. So if she cast this little girl to play this role, it must be for a significant reason.
Yeah. So, and I'll throw this one over to the bench. So originally we knew that the story was going to be based around Luke Skywalker, and apparently the writer that used to be on this project, parted ways because, simply put, we got word that this was going to be almost like the Mandalorian all over again. Like, oh, Ben Kenobi was going to be following Luke and protecting him, and it would have been like, Mando protecting Grogu, from a so to speak. So throwing this your direction, Ben, what do you feel like could be happening here? Do you have any speculation on what could happen to make Leia such a big part of this series going out?
Yeah. Well, for starters, Obi-Wan's different. He's bigger than Boba Fett, bigger than Mando, bigger than any of these, bigger than Ahsoka or any of these shows. So Obi-Wan, a show about Obi-Wan, it has to be on the grand, like epic, galactic-wide scale, almost as pivotal as the movies themselves. Like Obi-Wan's that big of a character where you have to, like, he can't just hang out dusting crops with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru for 6 episodes. So with that, you have to find a way to get Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine, because why would he leave Luke, like the potential new hope for the galaxy? Why would he leave him? So to me, when I first heard this story about Leia being in Kenobi and this casting, and as you both said, I haven't heard of this actress. And as you said, Milton, hey, if Deborah Chow casted her, she's probably a talented girl, I'm sure. So with that being said, I think the gist of this story is going to be this. So first episode, it's going to be the intro to whatever. By the end of the first episode, Obi-Wan's going to get a message from Jimmy Smith saying, hey, Leia's been kidnapped by this whatever dark hooded figure, blah blah blah. And see, the thing is, at this time period, the Inquisitors are out there looking for Force sensitive, like kids and like people, etc. But they wouldn't technically, they wouldn't know Leia is Anakin's kid.
Exactly.
They would think it's Bail Organa's daughter. Like, oh, this senator of Alderaan, that's his daughter using the Force. Let's capture her for the Empire to pull leverage over Alderaan and Jimmy Smith and Bail. So I think that's how it's going to end up going. I think Leia, because this will tie into one of our upcoming stories, but I think Leia will end up getting kidnapped by Inquisitors. Obi-Wan's basically going to be in a bind, like, well, I'm going to have to go and save her. And then you're going to get him basically telling that to Owen and Beru. And then he's going to head off planet. And I think this is where the story gets really complicated, though, in my opinion. And I was talking to a couple of my friends about this as well. Because if you have an Inquisitor, fight Obi-Wan, the hard thing about it is, how's it going to work? Because because you think he would have to report to Vader, like, hey, just to let you know, I found this Jedi, blah blah blah. Like, maybe they won't identify him as Obi-Wan because maybe he'll have his hood up and this and that. So like, maybe Obi-Wan will be more stealth-like, but it's going to get really complicated because they have to like dance around the fact, like you can't expose Obi-Wan on Tatooine whatsoever, because if Obi-Wan gets exposed on Tatooine, Vader will send like the whole Imperial fleet there, and they won't leave until they find him. Like it'll be like the Spaceballs thing, comb the desert. Like they'll literally be combing the deserts of Tatooine until they find Obi-Wan.
Well, so, Ben, you make a good point, because think about it. Like the Empire, excuse me, the Empire. They archived all the Jedi that were around before they got hunted down. They archived probably how these people fought, like just who they are. So think about it. If an Inquisitor, and they used to be what, Jedi Temple guards, correct?
Some
so you're
of
telling me,
yeah,
some of them, yeah. So like these Inquisitors who are Force sensitive, smart, who knows how to figure out who people are. If they see a guy with a blue lightsaber and is a really badass wielder with the Force, they're going to say, "Hey, we felt this power before." Like this is somebody that we know who it is. Like they'll know who it is. It's kind of like Highlander with the quickening. You can sense when someone's around when they got that power. You kind of know who it is. So it's like they'll know it's Obi-Wan. So yeah, that's going to be hard to kind of explain that because the Inquisitors will say, "Hey, my Obi-Wan might be alive when it go to Vader. Hey, we felt this power. It might be him." So I mean, hell, Vader can feel freaking Luke from all across the galaxies. Come on, so he knows like.
Yep.
So well, they have to figure out a way how to keep him away from Vader until they get to that point, but also keep him from the Inquisitors until it's like right.
Well, I think the way you can go about doing that is so basically you're going to have Bail and the Organa family off Alderaan. You're going to have them away from Tatooine. And to me, like just for like pure like greediness of being a Star Wars fan, of like the cinematography and like the implications and everything. So just imagine this. What if Leia gets kidnapped, and what if the Inquisitor for some reason like has to make a stop on Naboo, and Obi-Wan takes out the Inquisitor on Naboo, and then Vader comes, and like just imagine like the cinematography, like what if it's like Vader versus Obi-Wan? Because I think the way it's going to go is I think Obi-Wan's going to end up, because this show is going to be like a video game. The Inquisitors are going to be the littler or smaller villains, I guess, and that Vader's going to be the boss. So just imagine if the boss battle is like in front of where Padme's grave is, between Obi-Wan and Vader, like how like amazing like cinematography wise that would be and everything. And but they're still in a tough bind when it comes to the Inquisitor thing, because again it all falls back on, you'd think they would automatically communicate soon as we have even any implication this is a Jedi Master Knight, whatever. You think they would instantly communicate to Obi-Wan, like, or to Vader. So it's going to be tough, but I'm excited to see where they take it. But I think that will be the general gist of the show. Leia kidnapped by Inquisitors, Obi-Wan tracks her down, and then Vader, and by that time we'll be in the 5th or 6th episode of the show.
Yeah, well, I think this leads itself very well into the overall mythos of the story, because they're going to get introduced off planet somewhere. He'll defeat the Inquisitor. The Inquisitors will know he's around, and then that's how Vader eventually fights him in this epic duel that they've been teasing ever since they announced it. So that is how the whole plot will probably progress. So I think it works out pretty well, because it's got to be something important to get Obi-Wan off of that planet. What else could get Obi-Wan off the planet? Like, his one job is to guard one of the kids of Anakin. So there is another kid out there, obviously. So what if that one's in danger? And at this point, it's 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. We know there's some Jedi around, but hey, I mean, he's got, Bail Organa probably has Obi-Wan on speed dial. So it's just like, he's the one that he's going to call. And it just makes a lot of sense. The stakes will be high because we know her future. Obviously, she can't die for, but still.
That would be a plot twist.
That would be definitely interesting. Oh, yeah, there was another twin. I don't know. But anyway, no, I'm excited about this and kind of leaning more into the story of the Inquisitor. We got another, I can't say confirmation because, again, these are all rumors. These are not from StarWars.com, hence they're not official. But one of the actors has been officially casted. We just didn't know his role that's rumored until now, and that's Sung Kang from Fast and the Furious. Ben, you know this actor, right?
Oh yeah, he's a really good actor. Like, he definitely I can't think of his character name for Fast and the Furious.
Han.
Oh yeah, Han. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a really good actor, and yeah, I think that potential casting is going to be really good, because if he's potentially the 5th brother, like people are talking about, like, we'll have him, and presumably, there's been other things out there as well. I'm not sure if either of you saw, but Bespin Bulletin, and just before we got on, they posted an article on their website. They just launched their website today, actually, and they were basically saying that they're have been like multiple Inquisitor costumes made. So that that leads me to believe that it'll be Sun Kang's Inquisitor plus a few others maybe.
Yeah, so we know we don't, but they're saying maybe we'll be playing the fifth brother, and that might ring a bell because he is in Star Wars Rebels along with the seventh sister. And, well, we know what his fate is in Rebels. He does get killed. But that takes place like 7 years after the events have happened in Kenobi. And also, if you read Darth Vader, the comic series from Charles Soule, 25-issue run, it's the comic series I recommend everybody read first. If anybody's getting into comics, go ahead, read Darth Vader if you're looking into the canon stuff, because that is, like, issue for issue, one of the most quality in any kind of Star Wars comic you'll read from an artistic point of view and a writing point of view. But they introduced the Inquisitors in that book. They introduced the Inquisitors, and you get to see how big that organization is. There's several Inquisitors at that time, and that is just when the Inquisitorius is getting started. It's like the first year after Vader has put on the suit. And they have their own base on Coruscant, their own like skyscraper with their own training academy and their own quarters and everything else. Like, it's a fully fledged wing of like the Imperial military. So I could only imagine how large that organization would be. It could only grow if it started out at that point, like a couple months after Revenge of the Sith. What would 10 years look like? There's got to be a ton of these guys around, especially with less and less Jedi. There's less chance of them getting killed. There's going to be more of them in the ranks. Maybe, as we've seen with Jedi Fallen Order, a big plot twist in that story was how you create the Inquisitors, and we've seen the second sister's creation. She was a previous Jedi Padawan, and what happens is people get captured and they get tortured, and their will gets bent to the will of the Empire. So none of these people are really voluntarily joining the Inquisitorius. They're Jedi that get maimed and then they get captured. So, not every person got killed with Order 66. So, yeah, the Inquisitors, seeing them for the first time in live action is going to be awesome, because it's one of my favorite things that they put in canon since the 2014, Lucasfilm purchase of Disney, is creating this lore around these ex-Jedi that work for Darth Vader himself to hunt down the Jedi that survive Order 66.
I was not aware, because I haven't played the game yet for Fallen Order, but I wasn't aware of how they were created, the Inquisitors, which is cool how you described it, because that would make sense. Because it's like they were indoctrined into that particular culture or religion. So that happens in the real world with like militia, and look at the Middle East with kids that get kidnapped or taken from their parents forcefully, and they're forced to be in like militia groups as like 10-year-olds. So it's crazy. My question about, I guess, because I think we're still on the talk of Kenobi. My question is, do you think we'll get to see Coruscant or even Naboo again? Because that's one thing that I know, even with like the sequel movies and some of the new stuff that's coming out, we haven't seen a lot of those like prequel planets or even prequel type planets. So do you think we'll get to see Coruscant again, or even Naboo, maybe Cato Neimoidia or whatever?
Oh yeah, I would love to see Cato Neimoidia. That did not get enough love. It got a lot of love in Jedi, The Force Unleashed too.
Yeah,
that's about it though.
Yeah,
I think
I think we got a glimpse of it in like Revenge of the Sith, like whenever Plo Koon got blown up.
Yeah, but I think this series will be that love letter to the prequel era fans, and we're gonna see a lot more of that than we would for original trilogy stuff. I mean, we're gonna see stormtroopers, obviously, like that's even been rumored. Like, oh yeah, we see stormtroopers. Like, we've seen pictures of people like the boots on with the big like trash bags trying to cover their costumes, walking out there in public.
Right.
So we know that's all coming, but it's gonna be fun seeing these locations that we assume are gonna be in there, but with the Imperial twist. We've seen that a million times with the comics. They're always doing stuff because they're comics. They can do whatever they want. But seeing this stuff get melted together, that's not in animation, but in fact in live action for the first time, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And, getting this series, I think Cassian will come out first, but we're going to be seeing a lot of Jimmy Smits, that's for sure. Because I think he'll probably be in Rogue in Cassian as well.
Oh yeah, I think he'll be in Cassian. I think he'll be in the Kenobi show. And also another thing to throw out there about the Kenobi show, I believe it was Hollywood Reporter or Deadline a couple months ago said the Kenobi show was 6 1-hour episodes. So, that's a relief in and of itself that we're not going to get any type of rush. Like the characters will all be fleshed out, and it'll just add to the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, another thing they brought up, a huge thing that we've all been wondering about, is there will be, and this is a rumor, flashbacks to the Clone Wars. Multiple flashbacks. And that's what had my head scratching when they announced that Hayden Christensen was going to be in the show. It's like, you could put anybody in a Darth Vader suit, and obviously somebody's going to have to do the voice of Darth Vader, so why would you go ahead and cast Hayden Christensen other than to be a glorified, extra inside of the Darth Vader suit? Because they could just get the Rogue One actor that filled out the suit, anybody. But if this is the case, this is going to provide so much more emotional context, seeing these adventures of Obi-Wan. And there you go. And we were talking about prequel content. Well, you'll be in the middle of the prequels if you'll have that Clone Wars content. Could we actually see practical effect battle droids or something? That's something I would love to see. Going back again, taking another stab at the prequels, like we were already talking. Yeah, Naboo, Coruscant, maybe a new planet. But that is super cool.
What if we get a flashback where Obi-Wan and Anakin are on the planet where Din's a kid when he gets rescued by Death Watch?
Wow, talking about bringing everything together, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, and that could be a real legit possibility. I mean, I think for those flashbacks, I think we're going to get a lot of Anakin Obi-Wan together. I don't think we'll get much Ahsoka. I say that only because I think they'll focus on after she left, because I think we're going to want to understand, okay, what is Anakin's psyche at this point after his Padawan left him? Because again, in the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, Anakin is just leaving, from seeing Ahsoka for the first time in how long. So what was his psyche like before he saw her again?
Oh, I know what they could do.
So go ahead.
They could redo the entire Utapau arc that they never put out and put that in live action.
Oh, you mean with the Kyber crystal thing?
Yeah.
I mean, they could. No, they honestly could, and they could. And really, technically, that's not officially canon because it was just unused footage. So they can, what's the word I want to use?
Retcon.
They can retcon it a little bit. Yeah.
Because then they could even tie it into Rogue One and be like, hey, this is the crystal that's we all know is eventually gonna be part of the Death Star.
Right. Absolutely.
And the reason why I said this is because there is a scene where Anakin is talking to Obi-Wan right after Ahsoka leaves. So it's like, oh, there you go.
Yeah, because they were out in the woods or something, and they were keeping watch or whatever. And Anakin was real pissy during that conversation. So I would love to see his thoughts on the Jedi, because let's be real here, the Jedi had no faith in Ahsoka anymore. Then they try to play it off like, oh, that was your great trial or whatever. And she's like, miss me. You guys are super dogmatic. You guys are so caught up in your BS. I'm out. I'm past all this. So I think that's where Anakin was like, you know what? Ahsoka might be right. And I think that he started to question the Jedi. I think we all know after that moment, he was like, I have no faith in how the Jedi really are. How are you going to let someone leave like that and lose all that faith in someone who was loyal to you for years? I would love to see more of that psyche with him and how he's starting to question the Jedi.
Well, Milton, I'm thinking we have a potential. So we'll have whatever's happening in the present day with Leia and all that stuff we already discussed. But I think there's a potential story progression. So it'll be obviously, in my opinion, Obi-Wan's flashbacks.
Right.
But this is the way I'm thinking it's going to go. So you start the series, what if the flashbacks start out good and lead to the bad? What if the flashbacks progress from early in the Clone Wars to when Anakin has the fall and turns, and we get a Anakin getting ready to storm the temple? We go from the happy Clone Wars stuff to maybe Obi-Wan has a vision in the Force and sees what Anakin went through. When he's getting ready maybe to confront Vader, maybe he like has a vision or whatever and sees what Anakin did in the past, like when maybe Obi-Wan will be trying to turn him or and like talk him down from being Darth Vader, and then maybe he goes to like read his mind or whatever and he sees that, and maybe we'll get a progression from good to how Vader turned into like pure evil, basically.
Yeah, and then that makes sense because then he becomes like irredeemable to Obi-Wan. That's how they separate, because it's like there's no hope anymore.
Maybe we'll get another use of the line. Well, then I'll do what I must, and
which would be fire.
Yep.
Like I mean, look, Ewan McGregor can do no wrong when it comes to Obi-Wan. Okay, so I'm glad he's back. When we talked about this, I know we did when he was announced to be Obi-Wan again. Like everybody in the fandom was like, yes, we need him. We want to see that story. So again, I have faith in Deborah Chow as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. I'm just hoping everything she does for those 6 hours pays off.
Oh yeah, and another thing to throw out there, guys. Holy smokes! Like Hayden Christensen still looks so young. Like I saw pictures of him recently. Mm-hmm. He still looks really young. Like he's growing the hair out, so it's obviously the Anakin look. But he still looks like he can play the role just fine. Like he's aged really well for being
he's only like 30. He's only like 36, I think.
Yeah, I'll say mid 30s or so.
So like, I mean, and they'll put a wig on. They're going to use a wig because that wasn't all his real hair in the original movie. Yeah. But and again, like they can do a lot with that character with Hayden Christensen, and I think he doesn't get talked about enough now when it comes to like what his role is going to be in this new series. I think we're going to get a lot of Hayden Christensen. And even though it's about Obi-Wan's journey, this is going to be kind of like a love letter or a redeemable letter for his character, because from people who didn't like him in the live action, prequel films. I think we're going to get a lot of him. I think we're going to see something from Hayden where we're going to be like, oh wow, like he really brought a lot to this character.
And that's not all. There's still more characters to talk about that I remember. Now we switch over to a report over at LRM Online. These are the Latino review guys that used to break a lot of the Force Awakens stories, which ended up becoming true. So these guys got a good track record. And they are reporting that both C-3PO and R2 are going to be in the show. They don't know the extent, if it's going to be cameo, if they'll be kind of regulars on there. I think this is going to be done a lot better than hopefully the Rogue One cameo, where they're just kind of there and hey, they're there for just like 2 seconds for no other reason. I mean, you think about it, like they're going to be with Bail Organa, or Antilles. They're going to be with Antilles, and Antilles is always reporting to Bail Organa. So it makes sense. Like I could expect them in the same room as Leia. Maybe Leia treats them as her kind of toys with R2 or something. Maybe they're playing around in a room or something like that at one point.
I just thought of something, guys. An easy way you could give them both screen time. What if the Inquisitor kidnaps Leia in front of 3PO and 3PO is the one that reports it?
Well, 3PO's his memory's been wiped though, right?
No, I mean his memory's been wiped, but
he can. Who would he report it to?
He'd still report it though. Like if 3PO is hanging out, like you said, being like basically Leia's toy, like plaything, etc. Yeah. Protocol droid. What if, just to give Anthony Daniels a little more screen time, what if he's the one like Master Bail? Okay. Someone took Leia, blah 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 blah. Like maybe they do it that just to give him a little bit more screen time, so it's not like Rogue One.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah, it could work. I mean, I think obviously they need to do it right, because I don't want to have 3PO be like annoying and weird like he always is. I mean, I guess that's his character. But like I need them if they're going to be in the show, they need to do something. Like just don't waste them, because really pretty much 3PO and R2, especially R2's always doing something heroic throughout each trilogy. So
yes,
and his character matters. So I mean, really, there's people always say like, I guess the old Guardian or the old Wills say like, oh, Star Wars is from like 3PO or R2's perspective, like he's telling the story, or like, it's from his narrative form. But it's like these characters are important too. So give them some substance. Because like they're going to be linked to Leia for the rest of her life.
Oh yeah. And another character is rumored to come, and this is Agent Kallus. Yes, the guy from Rebels that's got the mutton chops. the guy from the Imperial Security Bureau that ended up defecting to the Rebel Alliance towards the end of the series. He is going to be in this series, and it takes place about 5 years before we first see him appear in episode 1 of Star Wars Rebels. So at this point, he's going to be well versed in Imperial doctrine and just a steadfast, believer of the Empire like we've seen him in that first season. So here's the conundrum, though. If this proves to be true, remember, these are rumors. We know that David Oyelowo plays Agent Kallus, and David Oyelowo is a person of color. So, and he's basically Kallus is a white character. So, how is this going to be? I'm going to be very interested to see what they're going to do if this is actually in fact truth.
I'll tell you right now, this is fantasy casting. Just saying, but you can cast Hugh Jackman to play that character. And the only reason why I say that is because he's got the mutton chops look already, and he's got a deep enough voice like that, like David, to play that character. So, and like he's Australian, so he can pull off like that British Australian accent, or even American accent, because he can do everything. But like he can play that character, so like I'm totally okay with it. Like I mean, and it. As long as you find a white actor that's got a deep voice that can play that character, it doesn't matter. Honestly.
Yeah, and throwing a
But I'll take Hugh Jackman though. That's my pick.
Fantasy casting there, but I mean, I could see him in a story because the ISB would maybe be involved with the Inquisitorius to track down the Jedi, and maybe he's gonna get a scent on Bail because maybe we'll get a little bit of rebellion in this as well. And we know the ISB is going to be looking for, rebel cells. So might we get some other links to maybe like this could be a precursor to what happens in Rogue One or not Rogue One, but the Cassian Andor series. Although I think this will come out after the Cassian Andor series if we're looking at, the production is like started already way before on Cassian Andor, but that's me diverting. What do you have to say about this there, Ben?
Yeah, the casting for Agent Kallus is going to be interesting to say the least, because us as Star Wars fans, like you said, Milton, just find an actor who can play the role, who can do it well, etc. But I could see this spinning out of control very, very quickly on social media because it will inevitably get into a potential like. Should you be casting a white actor to play a person of color the voice actor was a person of color, so it'll be, I could definitely foresee this turning into like a social media dilemma, like as many things in Star Wars has.
Here's the thing, I'll tell it to anyone who says that, because you idiots who they will try this, you idiots do not realize that Darth Vader is a white guy in a black suit voiced by James Earl Jones, who's a black guy. And everyone loves Darth Vader.
You know
what I'm saying? So like
literally
that's a very good point. Like
so it's like don't tell like so I'm gonna stop all those people out there who's gonna say some dumb shit about this, because that makes no sense. You get mad about that. Okay? Voice actors voice a character who happens there's plenty of black guys that voice white characters in shows, or black people or vice versa, white guys that voice black characters in shows. That's how it is. A lot of it's for animation, and in live action, a lot of it's dubbed voices, or again, if a guy who's in a makeup or suit, they do that. I mean, come on, how many shows and movies are out there where characters are in makeup or hardcore costumes where you can't see their real face and they're voiced over by other people in ADR? Like, it happens all the time. So in this case, we just need an actor who looks like the part, who has the deep enough voice to somewhat get close to how the voice actor was. It don't have to be perfect, because we honestly know that Ahsoka in live action did not sound like Ashley Eckstein in real life.
And that's,
you know what I'm saying? So it's like people out there just want to start crap, and it's like, I'm gonna look at you and say you guys are idiots when I see it on Twitter or Facebook, because I'm like, all I gotta say is Darth Vader. That's it. That's like right there.
That's the biggest card to play. Like I never thought of it that way, but that is a very, very good example for if these type of conversations would show up. And then another thing to throw out there, though, on a lighter note, what if, here's the thing, what if they introduce Agent Kallus in this? Because I've seen some people criticize this already and say, well, why would you introduce Agent Kallus when he really would, his only arc would just be just a bad guy and not have like an actual arc? But like I was thinking, like his arc plays out through Rebels and everything. But here's a fun thing. I mean, this is way long-term, grand scheme of things. But what if they introduce Agent Kallus, his live-action actor in this, and what if he ends up being the lead of the Rangers of the New Republic show? So then he has his full character arc from Empire to boom, Rangers. We already know what's going on with Rangers, so you don't have to rehash all that. So what if Agent Kallus gets introduced now, potentially becomes like a background fan favorite like Boba Fett, or, or whoever, and they make him really charming for the show for the audience to really like him, and boom, like I said, we know what's going on with Rangers. What if he ends up being the lead for Rangers? That's why Rangers is kind of pushed back right now, because they're just waiting to see the reaction potentially for Agent Kallus.
Yeah, I think what they would need to do though is, because you got to realize there's so many little less people that watch the animated stuff, so they would have to put a strong inclination at some point that he might turn or has some kind of delusions in the Empire. Something little small, because it can't be that big, because we see how tyrannical he is and crazy in Rebel Season 1, but just a little bit of something towards the end of the series to be like, oh, maybe this guy is questioning the Empire a little bit. And then we see him in Rangers, and he'll get like a flashback or something like to Rebels, like, hey, I defected this and all that. And that'd be really cool. I didn't even think that's a great idea. Connecting everything. That's what it's all about, connecting all the live action series. And another live action series that we have some more casting that was kind of rumored before, I think, from other sources, and now this source has picked it up. LRM Online has revealed the casting for Thrawn and Ezra Bridger in the upcoming Ahsoka series, which they claim will be out in December or something, or winter of 2022. So we have that to look forward to. So Lars Mickelson will be playing Thrawn, and we have Mena Massoud who will be playing Ezra. So I'm going to start off with Lars Mickelson, because this is awesome, man. Casting the voice that, his voice from Star Wars Rebels. He is like the perfect age. He kind of, I can already see, I'm looking at his picture right now. I can see him getting the blue face paint and getting the red contact lenses and looking just like Thrawn. And I've seen this guy play other characters and other things, such as like the Russian president or whatever in House of Cards, as well as one of the characters in the Witcher series, and everything this guy is in, I like him in. And he was also in Casino Royale, right, as the lead villain, opposite of John.
No, that was his brother.
Oh, that was his brother. That was Mars Mickelson, right?
Yep. No,
okay. Mads Mikkelsen. Okay.
Lars is the Thrawn.
That's gonna get a little confusing. I can see when they're starting to promote this, if it is true. But and Mena Massoud was Aladdin in the rebooted Aladdin with Will Smith recently. So there you go. What do you guys think about these?
I would say I'm okay with it. Oh, we'll start with Lars. So I'm okay with it. I mean, he first of all, he's a good actor. Like, he's not trash, very talented, so that's great. One right there. My only concern about him, I think he's an older actor.
Yeah.
He's not like he's 60. Is he 60? I'm looking right here. Is he 60 something? I think. No, 57. So okay, he's not super old. So my issue would be, can he do the physicality of the character? Because I would assume that Thrawn's going to be physical throughout this live action show. So can he do that physicality part? Because again, we all know Thrawn is very tactical. He knows how to fight and all that type of stuff. So I want to see that. As for the acting or the character for Ezra, the actor who got selected, totally fine with that too. I think he's a really good actor. He did a good job in Aladdin. And I think how even they did the animation for Ezra, he does look like a kid that would be like, a minority, and how he looks, how his demographics are. So I'm totally fine with that character being who the actor they chose. So I have no issues with it.
Yeah, as far as Lars Mickelson, I mean, Thrawn for the most part, yeah, he gets his action sequences, but he's nothing like a Jedi or a Sith that's going to be
Yeah,
fighting every other
yeah.
episode. And again, going back to the makeup, I feel like that could so be easily arranged with a double. Like you just paint somebody's face blue, don't have him look at
Right.
the camera too intensely, and have him do some spin moves, and you would never know the difference, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and you're right because I mean, look, Hollywood knows how to hide those deficiencies. Now, if they're going to hire a stunt double to fight like Thrawn, please actually know how to fight because I always think of the Marvel Netflix show Iron Fist, and they hired an actor that couldn't fight, and it was bad. So I'll never forget that because Iron Fist season 1 was trash because of that.
The second season got pretty good though.
It got better. Danny Rand knew how to fight a little bit better in that second season. But like I said, I think this guy is really talented. The monologue's gonna be fire because your boy is gonna cut a monologue for 10 minutes and you're gonna be like you can't take your eye off the screen because he's talking and it's like, oh my god, we get to see this guy in live action for the first time. Fire.
Oh yeah, and I'm one of those people that when I find out like Star Wars casting of a certain actor that I've never seen him in before, aka the actor for Aladdin, I'm not gonna watch Aladdin now because I want my first experience with the live action Ezra Bridger to be of this guy, not of the guy that played in Aladdin. If that makes any sense. So I'm kind of crazy when it comes to that sort of thing. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stay away from Aladdin. I'll watch Aladdin after I see him, because I want my first impression of Mina Masala to be of that Ezra character. So.
Oh yeah, like I think these. I mean, I totally agree with you there. Like I haven't really been exposed to Mina's acting, but I think Mina Massad's going to be potentially a really good Ezra. As you said, Milton has a similar look to him and that sort of stuff as Ezra. He's young too. I'm pretty sure I just saw on his Instagram he's turning 30, I think, this week or next week. So he's younger. And then also just a little tidbit for anybody who has Instagram. If you go and check out his Instagram from about a month ago, he went and posted a picture. It's whatever picture of him is shirtless on there, but the caption on it is the direct quote from Ezra saying, hey, if I escape, he won't, or he says, hey, if I escape, I won't hurt you. It's his exact quote from Star Wars Rebels, like 100% his exact quote from whenever. Yeah, like if you pull up even our group chat I sent it, I believe, Chris. If you click on the Instagram post and pull it up, the direct quote, he literally says it, or that's the only caption for the picture. It's literally the direct quote from Ezra from Rebels. So it's like, what in the world? And everybody missed that. Like, that was like a month or two ago, and everyone missed it. And he put that as a quote for one of his pictures, and it's like, what in the world? So
how does Lucasfilm not like slap him on a wrist or something for that? You know what I mean?
I know. So I saw that and I was like, what in the world? So that's cool. And I think like even with speculation, like I think that even that is even more of like a little hint that, yeah, he's most likely going to be Ezra. And the biggest, in my opinion, like we were talking about earlier today, the biggest takeaway as well from that LRM article is the fact that Mina Massad signed on. So that means like the deal's done, like it's not just speculation, like it's a done deal type of thing. So it makes me wonder, like, what is he signed on for? Is he just signed on for Ahsoka? Is it for like the Mando verse of shows potentially, like Mando season 3 or 4, etc.? Because even LRM acknowledged they're not sure if it's for just Ahsoka or for Ahsoka and Mando season 3 or Mando season 3. Like they're not 100% on the exact show that he's in. So, but he is confirmed, or well, from what they were saying, he's pretty much confirmed. So I thought that was really interesting. And then, to echo both of your guys' statements on Lars playing Thrawn, I think he'll do really good. And to your concern about his physicality, Milton, I think a good template to look at an older actor is Ian Glenn, who plays Bruce Wayne in Titans, because I believe he's actually about 57 or 58. He's the same age range. And in season 2 of Titans, he actually has a straight up fight scene with Nightwing. Like they literally have a fight back and forth. Like
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
crazy. Like, but the way they shoot it, you have wide angle shots and things where you don't really see his face, but the up close shots are obviously the shots where like him and Nightwing are clashing, so you don't have to have him swinging around and going crazy. So I think that's the way you can do it with Thrawn. If Thrawn would get into some type of action, you can do it with like camera angles like that and tricks like that to play around with it. And with Thrawn, presumably, like, just by the cinematography of villains in Star Wars, he'll probably be in more of a darker type area anyways.
right.
So, you'll be able to play around with the lighting really well when it comes to his potential physicality. But again, I think even without this article getting released, I mean, we were going to get this news eventually, because that's presumably what the Ahsoka show is going to be about. I mean, she's literally said, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" and in her Mando season 2 debut. Like, so obviously we're going to be getting them at some point. So it's just, to me, I think it's a pretty good chance this is a accurate report, just because if you think about the timeline, Chris, did you say it said potentially December of 2022?
Yeah. So literally,
Okay.
it's going to come out around the same time as Book of Boba Fett the following year.
Okay, so like, if you think about it that
a year
way,
from Book of Boba Fett, yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. We're about 18 months out or so from that show potentially. So like right about now is when they would be bringing in Thrawn and Ezra, because I was talking to one of my friends about this today. With Thrawn and Ezra, they're not going to be in the show very much, in my opinion, unless you're cutting from Ahsoka searching to Thrawn and Ezra doing whatever they're doing. But I don't think we're going to see a ton of them in the Ahsoka show. I really don't.
No. Nope. So there you have it, guys. Lots of big reveals for rumored characters that appear in both Ahsoka and Kenobi. And it's just so interesting because, 5 years ago, who would ever think we're talking about series where we would be talking about, who's casted in what movie at the time.
Right.
So fun stuff there. We got more collecting news this week. It's just week after week, and I'm the guy who doesn't get much anymore because, well, I don't have a whole lot of room in this place for more collectibles. So, but if you are interested, we are getting a celebration of the Clone Wars micro series in Hasbro Black Series and Vintage series format. So the Black Series figures, they just have the characters. They don't have the actual like boxes of what they look like. Are the red ARC Trooper, you got Mace Windu, and you got Grievous. So that's going to be neat there. But they did have the full packaging reveal for the vintage, the 3.75 inch. You got the Ala Secura coming out. You got Luminara Unduli coming out. You got Barasafi. You're going to get the red ARC Trooper Captain. You're also going to get the regular blue ARC Trooper as well as a battle droid. And what's really neat is all the vintage card backs are of like the actual animated versions of the characters, and they look so cool. I was talking to Ben earlier in the week, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm definitely buying the ARC Trooper there," and I was like, "Yeah, I can't agree more. That thing's awesome. It comes with two little blasters. It just looks badass." And by the way, this is celebrating the 50th 50 years of Lucasfilm, so they are really going all out when it comes to celebrating over different toy lines, different books. Everything else is getting branded for 50 years of Lucasfilm already.
Oh yeah, like I mean, everyone knows here on the podcast, like that Clone Wars micro series is one of my favorite pieces of Star Wars content ever. I just love it, adore it. So when Chris sent us that link, I was like, "Yep, they're taking some of my money because I'm going to be purchasing a few of these figures like instantly." But yeah, I'm definitely getting the ARC Trooper. I'll probably end up getting. See, this, you could spiral into many purchases potentially, because if you get Grievous, you have to get Mace Windu to go with him. So, then you fall into like, oh well, you have to get like, the other Jedi because Grievous hurts them or whatever, when they were in their fight. So it's like, you spiral down a path of like, oh man, you might have to get all of them at some point.
Ben, you're too funny.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, look, am I a huge collectible on Star Wars toys? Not really, but I do have some. Look, just like Ben, I'm a huge fan of the micro series. It's honestly some of the best storytelling when it comes to Star Wars, in my opinion. So after seeing what they offered, I mean, if the product catches my eye, especially with like the Jedi, so like Anakin, Obi-Wan, anything like that, I mean, I might be interested. So it just depends on clearly like how they look, how they market it, whatever. So I could be someone I can get some too. I'm most likely not because it's not really my thing, but I might collect one or two just because it'd be nice to have that. And then again, I do love that particular part of Star Wars with the micro series.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just Hasbro's just so busy, man. Like it feels like we got like a week ago or 2 weeks ago they had all the reveals of like all these other waves of characters, and then also released like the day after all this stuff with the ARC Troopers and all. They're getting carbonized versions of some of these Mandalorian Black Series figures. I think 2 of these. I don't even know if they've been released. So you're getting a Scout Trooper, you're getting a Shore Trooper from Mandalorian, and you're getting a re-release repackaging of Paz Vizsla, who is the guy that's like picking a fight with Din in season 1 when they're in the place with the armorer. So the carbonized is interesting. I know they've played around with this kind of thing. I have a carbonized Inquisitor, but it basically makes the characters like shiny. It puts like a sheen, like metallic-y type of coating on the figure. So like for instance, the Scout Trooper looks like a little bit like has like a brown tint to his white armor. So stuff like that. I don't really like the look of this. I know they did it with the Mandalorian figure, made him look like too shiny. But there you go. If you guys are Mandalorian fans, there's more figures for you guys to hunt down. All right, this one's very cool. So we got an official poster for Galactic Starcruiser. This is the upcoming hotel. It's going to be at Disney World, which is confirmed in this article too, that it's coming out next year in 2022. So they had like a breakdown of the poster on the Disney Parks blog website. And what's really neat is they show like what you could basically wear while you're there. And I think that's the biggest thing I took away from this poster as I'm looking at it right now is like they have a kid on the left side. He's got a lightsaber, looks like Cal Kestis basically, got the hood up, looks awesome. You got somebody else that's, looks like the father's dressed as like a first order Imperial or a first order security officer. Then you got I guess the mother in this situation would be a Twi'lek, got the head Leku and all that. And then there's, I guess, the daughter. It would be kind of like a Jyn Erso kind of like spy-ish thing with a costume with like a head, like kind of like a hood, like a scarf around with like some kind of technology. So that's really cool because they were saying, it's going to be completely immersive. You're going to be able to, I think it's like a 2-night stay. It's at least 2 nights that you have to stay. They'll have missions for you to do. Basically, hey, you could have an excursion to go to Batu one day, and they'll transport you there on a special van that has like video screens. So it makes you like feel like you're actually traveling in space, even though you're just driving down the street. They'll have stuff like that just makes you feel like you are living in Star Wars. And the fact that you could just, hey, what kind of clothes do I want to wear? Oh, I want to be a stuck up like first order officer. Like this is like the ultimate like role-playing type of experience, and it's gonna be a cost a pretty penny. But I think if you're a hardcore Star Wars fans, start saving your money now. Start gathering a bunch of friends that you could split a room for this place, because I know it's gonna be a couple $1,000s for this kind of experience. But hey, if you split it up with other people, it can't be too bad. And this might only be like something you do once in your life, unless you are affluent and have a rather large bank account, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm first of all, I'm shocked we haven't built like a freaking, Star Wars, like island at this point. I mean, I know we technically have Disney World with all that type of stuff, but I mean, like, give me just like Jurassic World, give me a Disney World or a Star Wars world, No, I mean, look, this isn't surprising because again, everyone wants to experience the Star Wars life in a sense, whether it's having a lightsaber, flying on the Millennium Falcon, eating some or drinking some blue milk, or just living on Tatooine for like a day. So this is probably the closest thing we'll get. And it's probably a nice, relaxing environment where you'll do a lot of fun Star Wars thing and you get to dress up. I mean, it's kind of like, think about what's the scene in Revenge of the Sith when they go to the not the casino, they go to the
Opera
the
House
theater,
place?
the
Yeah.
Opera House. Yeah. Imagine if they actually built an opera house like that. I guarantee you, multiple millions of fans would want to go to something like that. So the more they can do things like this and try to make it feel real, like we're part of that Star Wars universe, then by all means, like, fans will sign up and do this, And you're right, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money. So you better start saving up the moment you're born, because there's no way it's going to be cheap. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to cost you. I mean, over 5,000. You'd have to think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot. You got food, you got lodging, you got costumes. I mean, it's
Plane
not
tickets.
plane tickets. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, people around the world are gonna pay for this thing. They're like crazy. There's gonna be a wait list on this thing for probably like a year. I bet you this goes on sale. The day it goes on sale, they're gonna be like, we are booked for all of 2022 and part of 2023. Try again in
But
2023.
they're going to have to. They're going to have to do it that way. They're going to have to say, we're going to have to plan it out 2 years in advance. Like, okay, we'll take orders for 2 years and then, like, we're done. Because then they're going to see how everything plays out. How do people respond to it, and then try to make it, like, more efficient.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like, it's going to be a while unless you got money like that, or someone at Disney or Lucasfilm to get yourself some tickets.
Seriously, because we don't know like how many rooms it's gonna have, but if there are like personalized type experiences where people are gonna go to a certain location at a certain time within the hotel, like they say there's gonna be like the lightsaber training. So I guess you would have to have certain appointments made while you're at the hotel. So there's gonna be a lot of like logistics that, yeah, I can understand. Like the first couple weeks, it's probably gonna be like a crap show there because there's going to be so much going on. Hopefully it's not the case, but I could just see like this might be one of the things to wait. Like you said, oh yeah, maybe wait like 2 years. Maybe then it'll be more efficient. They might lower the price maybe or something like that slightly, or try to figure out other options for people that want it to be like more of affordable. Maybe they'll figure out a 1-day stay, which, rather than a 2-day stay for people. Stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just happy to see like they got an official poster and it's got like Kylo Ren and Chewie on there. So
Yeah.
lot of cool stuff coming from the parks. We got a lot of news from a lot of different areas in Star Wars. Gonna mention,
I mean,
yeah.
And Chris, I'm gonna just add on to that. So I'm just reading some of the stuff about that particular park, and they talk about how, like, some examples of the planned features include creatures, droids acting as certain hotel staff, such as butlers, guests wearing Star Wars costumes, and the ability to interact with the features of the hotel. And as visitors were really in a Star Wars universe, visitors would also be able to have lightsaber training and duels, an expansion of the Jedi Training Academy in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Explore and pilot Star Wars spaceships and go on secret missions personalized towards the visitor's experience. One writer calls it like the Westworld of Star Wars for fans.
Oh my
like
gosh.
That. So like, I mean, think about that. I mean, people who've seen Westworld,
Yeah.
like, that show, like, put people, like, it just changed people's minds about how, like, the world really is. Like, imagine us having the opportunity to be in something like that. Like, that sounds pretty amazing to me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they'll let like some podcasters like preview the thing like a week before, and maybe somebody watching this could put in a good word for Disney for us.
That's it's easy marketing, free marketing.
There we go. I mean, hey, I mean, we can do a podcast from there for a weekend.
Can you imagine that?
They don't even have to provide us food. We can bring our own food. I mean,
yeah, all they got to do is pay for our lodging and let us just chill out for the week there. Oh, fine, I'll be good. I'll pay for my own food. I ain't got no problem with that.
This is Outer Rim Transmission coming to you from the Holocon Starship Galactic Starcruiser.
Well,
and AKA Orlando, Florida, by the way.
Exactly. And also fun news as well. Like I think this will be a really cool experience for fans. But again, like you both said, it's going to be choppy, I think, for quite some time
Mm-hmm.
to start. Until they get into the flow of things, it's going to be choppy, I think, because you have so many logistics. Like for all intents and purposes, what if they have all these things booked? What if they have like 50 different appointments per hour? Like, what if one employee gets sick? Then you're going to have a mess on your hands because you're having to try to get another employee to come in. Like, it's going to be really choppy, I think, to start. But I think it'll eventually be good. But I think we're looking at a 1 to probably more like 2 to 3 year time frame than we are in just a few months or so. Like,
Yeah.
I think it'll take some time. And also to throw out there as well, just a fun little thing for the podcast. I actually will be going the first week of January to Hawaii, and we're going to go do the entire Jurassic World, Jurassic Park 3-hour movie location tour. So
Nice.
I'll be calling in for the podcast from Hawaii, and yeah, we'll be checking out all the Jurassic Park locations where they shot the movie. I just found that out today.
Oh
So
wow!
you're
It's
saying,
the
so
new
pretty
bar.
much you're saying secretly you're going to get Bryce Dallas Howard on the podcast that day.
Well, see, I guess if you want to extrapolate it that way, like I was thinking Chris Pratt, but I could handle hanging out with Bryce Dallas Howard.
I mean, we'll take either one. I mean, I just figured her because of her Star Wars connection. But
Yeah.
like I said, we'll take Chris Pratt and say, hey man, we know what's going on in Disney. You work for Marvel. Let's get this figured out.
Or even better, who's the director of Jurassic World?
Is that Colin Trevorrow? Well,
yeah,
he did the
let's get Colin Trevorrow on for a Q&A. Like, hey, what was your episode 9 about?
Oh God.
Oh man, yeah. That would be a
just
scoop
a
and
fun little-
exclusive of the century.
Fun little thing to throw out there for the podcasters to keep an eye out.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be posting some Jurassic Park pictures as well.
Awesome. Finishing up with the news. Like I said, very busy week. This literally just came out about 5 hours ago. We have the next wave of the High Republic. This is Phase 1, Wave 3, which is actually going to end Phase 1. So after this, we'll go into Phase 2. So what we have revealed is not much. We just have the authors and the titles of the things they are creating. So in this case, we have The Fallen Star, which is an adult novel written by Claudia Gray. Everybody's very excited about that. We have Eye of the Storm, which is a 2-parter oversized issue Marvel comic that is going to be all about the backstory of Marchion Ro, who is the main baddie in the High Republic, the leader of the Nile. We have Mission to Disaster. This is the middle grade novel written by Justina Ireland, so that will be her second middle grade novel in the High Republic. And we also have Midnight Horizon, written by Daniel Jose Older. This is the young adult novel of this. And the cool thing is these are all coming out beginning of January 2022, which is literally a year after Phase 1 started. And the tagline goes, "The light of the Jedi goes dark." So that's very ominous. It looks like crap is going to hit the fan in this as if it hasn't already in the High Republic. But it's pretty cool because this gives me an idea of maybe each phase will be approximately a year. So then we could see, Phase 2 ending at the end of 2022. And what we know is there's 3 phases so far. There's Light of the Jedi, Phase 2 is Quest of the Jedi, and Phase 3 is Trials of the Jedi. So maybe the initial High Republic stuff will end right around the time that we start to get movies into theaters again, with Rogue Squadron.
Well, I think that'll line up perfectly with the Acolyte, won't it?
It could, yeah, because we have no idea when the heck that's coming out.
Yeah, that's what I instantly just thought about that. I was like, man, maybe it's the High Republic series will end, boom, and then it'll go right into the Acolyte.
I can't see them having announced the Acolyte so early though, because are they gonna really make us wait 3 years for that thing? Because they announced it at the end of 2020, I don't know if they would wait.
That's the same thing with the Rogue Squadron movie, though.
True, but TV generally comes out much quicker.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I
true.
mean? Like when things are announced, it takes like 1 year. I think usually like they start pre-production maybe longer than a year, but once production starts, it's usually like at like a good year until something comes out. But I'll probably have more to say about this content for the High Republic next week, because I know they're also going to have another High Republic release for their YouTube channel, the High Republic Show, which they did say they're going to talk more about stuff like this. So I'll probably have more details to share next week. And that brings us to the Bad Batch review. This is the Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 13, Infestation. This is the episode where they are on Ord Mantell and something goes wrong at good old Sid's place. And there's this different crime syndicate that's trying to basically make a name for themselves in front of the Pikes. And it's up to the Bad Batch to screw things up for them. And they basically get Omega. And their job is to go get the spice that they left behind and exchange that. And basically, by the end of this episode, they get Omega back. Nobody dies. Nobody really gets hurt. And everything is okay in the world again. And that's my big critique about this episode, is because literally you could cut this episode out. And I know the whole thing of, hey, everything plays into a factor sooner or later. But the problem is when they've had multiple episodes that basically are structured this way, where it's like, oh yeah, you'll see these characters later, but it's like, well, how many episodes do we have to have? Especially the main point of this is having an episode like this so close to the end of the season feels like it's really just like the entire season's been so paced wrong. I think like it's like, stop, like you'll have 2-3 episodes where it's like, accelerator to the floor, and then the next episode, foot on the brakes. The next 2 episodes, foot on the accelerator. It's like, stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Like we're really interested in this episode, and the next episode we're just like, what the heck's going on? And this really, more than any other episode, I feel like this one really was a blatant one, like really in our face about, hey, like this is just a fun villain of the week because we introduced a new character. And that's about it. There's not really a whole lot to say about this episode other than that.
Chris, I thought so we definitely know how you really feel about this episode. Okay. Mm-hmm. Only thing I liked about this episode was that we got to see the Pikes. Because for some reason, every time we see the Pikes, I just enjoy those characters. I like how they're just very sinister, and they are who they are, and they don't blink for no one. That's pretty much it with this episode. And like I sent a message to you guys earlier, and I said, I am tired of these episodes going nowhere, pretty much. Because it's like, and Ben, you said it good last week. It's like being in the desert, and you drink dirty water, but it tastes so good in the moment, you just keep drinking it or whatever. It's dirty water. Yep. And it's like, oh my goodness, what are we doing? Like, yeah, I think they tried to... They pretty much tried to make this like a horror type episode with like the cavernous, and the bugs and whatnot, because people don't like bugs. Like, the bugs are scary to some people. But it's like, this is ridiculous, man. Like, where are we going? Because didn't we just end on cliffhanger last week of Crosshair saying, let me go hunt them down? And he's like, granted. And so we all thought, okay, Crosshair is going to start wrecking people. He's going to start holding people hostage just to get what he wants. No, let's go just steal some spice, mess with some bugs, and just see Wrecker get scared. Like, okay, all right. How's this pushing the narrative? So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Ben, we'll throw it over to you, man. Let's hear your thoughts.
Where to begin? Like I tweeted last night, like I said to you guys, I was up a little late last night, so I was like, you know what? This is the final 4 episodes. Let me just stay up and watch it. So I stayed up. Leading into the episode, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He was like, oh, it's titled Infestation. And I was thinking, oh, man, this is going to be the clone troopers, blah, blah, blah. And then 5 minutes in, we get bugs. And I'm like, oh, so this is where we're going. It's literally bugs. And then, like you said, nothing happened. It's a pointless episode because none of the implications mean anything at all. The Pikes, whoever voiced the Pike, I mean, that's the only positive of this entire episode. Like, the voice acting of the Pike character, like you said, Milton, he's ruthless to the point. Like, the Pikes, hats off to the voice actor for that character. But I think the only implication for this potential episode is the character that or not Ahsoka, Omega helped. Maybe we'll end up helping Omega in the Bad Batch at some point,
Yeah.
eventually in this season or in future seasons. Like, again, this is like a intro into future seasons, or it's hard to say even future stories because we only have 3 episodes left. Like,
See, right? And this is my, Ben, I'm gonna let you finish.
oh,
And
you're
this
good.
is my problem, because if that's what they're doing to quote unquote set up different characters for future seasons, that's stupid. Because again, like, if they're gonna be there, they're gonna be there. I don't care about this guy. I don't even know his name. Like, whoever they cut off his
Durant.
horn. Yeah, Duran. I don't even care about him. He wasn't even threatening, honestly. Like, so I'm just like, who cares about him? We just saw an episode where they just rescued Hera and her family, and Crosshair said, I want permission to get them. He said yes. Why would we run away from that narrative? You got like 4 episodes left. Tell that narrative right there. But we're talking about bugs. And we're trying to potentially set up a future character that can rescue them later. Okay.
Oh, and this is
Like,
another thing that's rubbing me the wrong way too, is that I feel like there are no more stakes in this show anymore, because when Omega gets captured every other episode and still gets out of it the same episode, it's like, what risk is there to anybody at this point? Like, even the villains aren't even getting killed. Like, I really gave props to the show in the earlier part of the season when they were just blatantly killing people. Like, people were getting shot in the chest.
Squad.
Yeah, and then, like, really, they can't just, like, kill this evil villain guy that was, like, kidnapping a kid? And, like, how is she empathizing with him at all? It makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, how is she... It feels like her character development, like, went out the window on this episode. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, it made no sense. And then on top of it, I was thinking about it as well. Oh, maybe we're going to get a double cross here since Sid's splitting everybody up. Maybe she's going to double cross the squad, and then it's like, oh no, everything just plays out fine. Like, I was thinking, oh yeah, we're going to get a double cross, and then that doesn't even happen. And I'm like, what is going on? Like literally, this is a season 1 episode 2, not a season 1 episode 13 out of 16. Like, what is going on, Star Wars? So to me, like, don't get me wrong, I love Dave Filoni, but man, he is definitely striking out.
He doesn't really have anything to do with this.
Has he? Oh, I was thinking he was on this show too.
No, he is. But like, this is written by somebody else.
What's his title for this?
Executive producer.
Yes, but he's not. So I think he wrote some of these scripts.
What he did?
Why?
No. What happened with him? His role as an executive producer, right? And he was the same position for Star Wars Resistance. He basically pitches the show to them. I don't know this, by the way. Anybody listening, watching? This is not anything from any source. I'm just speculating here. I think what happens is he pitches the story from point A to point B in broad strokes. Okay, we have the Bad Batch. They get away from Kamino. They find Omega. That is carrying them through certain adventures. So he does like the whole overbroad story. Oh, there will be a resistance on Kamino or something like that for season 1. That's your story. And then they hire a boardroom of a room of writers that write each episode. As we noticed, there's different writers pretty much in every episode. Some of them return, some of them don't. But you have I'm looking at this right now. There's it's direct. They have a director, they have a writer, and then they have a story editor. And the story editor is supposed to, I guess, keep everything kind of cohesive between each episode.
All right, that makes a lot more sense then. Okay, so yeah,
I wouldn't blame it on Dave Filoni, because Dave Filoni is not like
he's
in
only
the boardroom
one
every
episode,
single day.
And that was the pilot.
Oh,
and we all love that.
The best one. But yeah, so I mean, even with that, like setting that aside, still Star Wars. Forget Dave Filoni for a minute. Star Wars, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. You can't get a story right on your only TV show that you have on at the moment. Like, what is going on? Like, sure, it's an animated show, etc., but we just came off of Clone Wars being so amazing. We came off of Rebels over the last few years being so amazing. Resistance was really good. Like, you have all these things, and then this show is so all over the place. Like, don't get me wrong, Resistance is like a lower age demographic, like the way the show is, but still that show is way more cohesive than this show has been.
I agree.
Like, it's just like, what is going on? And, you know, like I tweeted after the episode last night, the little gif from Spaceballs when they're looking into the video screen at the other, you know, of themselves, when Dark Helmet goes, what the hell is going on here? Like, that's literally how the fans feel with this show. It's like, what are we looking at? Like, what is this? Like, because to me, I'm excited for the final 3 episodes, but it's just like, whatever happens. Like you said, Chris, there's no stakes left in this show.
I have no expectations. I have no expectations of how it's going to end. Because, I mean, go ahead.
Well, that's like this next week's episode's title's it's War Mantle. Like, what are they going to do? Like, instead of like the clone thing, is it going to be some like literal war like mantle? Like, I don't know. Like we got literally infestation in this episode. Like, and then it begs the question. See, unfortunately, I could see the show going this way as well. Next week we have War Mantle. They're going to quickly wrap the Empire stuff, and then they're going to use the final 2 episodes to somehow shoehorn in Boba Fett to basically say, hey, everybody, look at Boba Fett meeting Omega. You know, I could see it going that way as well for the final 2 potential episodes.
Yeah, for them to really finish off the season, they're gonna have to pull a miracle, and I've like the list is getting longer and longer of the story points I want them to address, and with 3 episodes left, like you said, Ben, it's like, what are they gonna do? Just throw everything in one episode? Be like, here's exposition for the answer to this thing. Here's some more exposition to answer this question you had. Like, there's so many questions, and it feels like the wheels are spinning at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, and here's the thing, and this is sad to say because I like watching the animated shows. Honestly, after what we've gotten so far, I don't see myself rewatching this first season like again and again. Like, I'll watch the premiere and like the first like 5 to 6 episodes, and then after that, I'd be like, ugh, it'd be hard to get through it. Like, that's how I'm feeling right now about this show. Because I can go back and watch the Clone Wars, even some of the weird episodes with Jar Jar. I can still watch them and be like, okay, it's Jar Jar or about whatever. But I love those characters, so I can go back. I can go back and watch Rebels and be like, great, it's a great series. You know, so far, you ain't doing it for me because, like, even how Rebels that Rebels first season was so good. Like, yeah, it had an episode here that was kind of wonky, but how that ended was awesome, and then how it premiered in season 2 and how that progressed, dope. This so far, I have no faith in wanting to rewatch this season again, unless it's the premiere in the first 3 to 4 or 5 episodes. That's it.
And I think it was a misstep for them to really have a show based on the Bad Batch. I mean, I think it's safe to say now, being 13 episodes in, we're almost done the first season, so I can kind of talk about my expectations now and about what I'm feeling at the moment. Like, maybe they should have made this an anthology series. Because I really enjoyed that Hera episode where the Bad Batch was barely in it. And because it's just like the Bad Batch, I don't know the last episode they had that really developed any of the characters. Like,
it was, I think I remember it was were they on the ship planet? The oh my god.
Oh,
Abraka?
Where the junkyard planet with
Bracca?
the ships. Was that what? Yes. Yeah. I think that was the last time we actually got some like character development. Because that was when Cad Bane showed up and shot Hunter. So I think right after Cad shot Hunter, that's when things started going downhill. And from my opinion, you know, now then we had that Cad Bane episode where they had to go rescue her, which was a good episode. We all liked that one, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, it was just like, wait, where are we taking this? Like, where are we going? So it was around that time where the show changed.
Yeah. So, well, I don't have a whole lot more to say. I think because there's not a lot of positives to say, so we spent a lot of time on the negatives already.
Look, seriously, if anyone from Lucasfilm Animation is watching or listening, or even look, you have 3 episodes left to convince us that we're going to watch season 2. And at this point, I may just let season 2 come out next year and just binge it later because I have no faith that I want to watch the premiere of next year. You know, like this year's premiere, fire, like loved it because we loved how you introduced the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars. At this point, you're just you've downgraded the Bad Batch so far. It's like, wait a minute, you shouldn't have done. Like, it just, Chris, you're right. They might it should have just made it like a 7-episode series and been done with it.
And as much as the feedback we give them, the reality of the situation is they produce this stuff about 2 years before we see it. So
True.
unless they're gonna get like 4 seasons, 5 seasons of this show, they'll look at season 1 reactions and be like, oh, maybe for season 5 we should do 45-minute episodes. Meanwhile, we got 4 seasons of 22 episodes or 16 episodes, and half of them don't seem consequential at the time.
but they have to be seeing. I mean, yeah, you're right. They usually do develop the scripts like a year or two in advance. But that these people have people that are listening to the internet or watch Twitter or whatever, seeing that, hey, that one wasn't really receptive, or people didn't really like this character.
Yeah.
You know they gotta be paying attention. Like, anyone that says, oh, we don't pay attention to the internet or the fans, that's a lie. Everyone's always listening. So let's be real here. Like, if you want to win us back, you better like make season 2 fire, at least somewhat having a good like season finale the next 3 weeks.
Well, Milton, just to throw out there, this is my only potential maybe thing. I messaged it in our group chat earlier in the week. Like, here's the thing, what if this is just a season 1? And what if the Bad Batch in the final few episodes join the rebellion and they're transitioned over to the Cassian show? Since the Cassian show is 12 episodes, it's longer. So maybe they're just side characters in the Cassian show. I mean, and, if you need to have Tamara Morrison play a couple banged up versions of those clone troopers, like, he can do it. I mean, he's under contract for Lucasfilm, so I'm sure they could work that out. Or if that was even in the cards, that would have been worked out before we even, have gotten to this point. So, I mean, maybe there's that. Like, if it ends up only being 1 season, maybe we just get the Bad Batch in a future live action sense as part of the rebellion.
Then why here? So I that's cool. So why make this series then if you're gonna just use them and put? You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer about it, but it's like, come on, man, like, because their animation has been so good throughout the years. Like, that's one thing we do rely on with Star Wars, that their animation series are very well done for the most part.
Oh, so, yeah, 100%. Like, the best part about this show, like, other than the few good episodes, has been the animation, has been the music.
Yeah.
Like, other than that, like, this show, to me, every week, like, they're not even getting a chance to strike out. Like, we're getting to points where they're not even showing up to bat. Like, it's like, what is going on? Like, or forgetting to bring their bat to the ballpark. Like what is going on here?
But
like,
maybe
I just don't get it.
And it's interesting because we haven't had any rumors of a season 2, and that leads me to believe, like, maybe this is a one and done somehow. Maybe what this will be, maybe what Lucasfilm is trying to experiment. I think this would be a good idea. Having a season of like 16 episodes per like a group of characters in the dark times. So now that they introduce certain characters, let's say Hera or with Rex or with those the girls, whatever their names were that are connected to Rex.
Sisters.
The Martell sisters, like spin off to like somebody else gets like their own like 8 or 16 episodes next year, and they tell like basically a Clone Wars story, except instead of arcs, you have seasons per character or group of characters, but they're all connected. So we could still see like things happening on Kamino from a different perspective, because maybe the Bad Batch all gets killed, so you can't have their perspective anymore. Or what happens is Omega is the anchor point, and Omega will leave the Bad Batch, go to a different group of characters, and they name themselves something else. I don't know. But like they're not going to kill off Omega, but I could see them doing it with the Bad Batch at least.
To echo like Milton's points from earlier, like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be here watching whatever animated thing comes out week by week by week. But at this exact point in time, I'm not that excited for future Star Wars animated shows. I'm not. Like, I hate saying that, but I'm not. It's just like, after what we've gotten so far for this season, for the first 13 episodes, it's like, it's really been wishy-washy. And then, your only high moments, like, obviously the pilot was great. You had a few good episodes here and there. He had Cad Bane come in for a couple episodes. Like your some of your high moments are almost like the cameo type episodes, but those episodes, even with Cad Bane, one of the most like ruthless bounty hunters in the galaxy, he gets punked by Omega and the gang basically. His Toto gets tricked, his faithful robot gets tricked, and he doesn't even think there's a possibility that Toto might get tricked by this little kid. Like little things like that. Like it's like what is the point here? Like why are we playing like there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. And then, even last week, as you said earlier, Melton, we go and get Crosshair saying, "Can I hunt them?" And he granted and all this. And then we just skip it. Like leading into last week, we all presumed that Crosshair was hunting the gang in the background. It's like, oh wait, no, that hasn't even been happening at all. Like, what is going on? There's no plan.
Yeah, well, I think we had enough to say about everything in this episode. I'll start this one off. So overall, hey, I'll talk about a positive that I didn't mention before. Seeing a different organization of crime in the Star Wars universe that's not the Pikes, that's not the Black Sun, that's not the Crimson Dawn, whatever. Seeing like this new guy try to make a name for himself. I thought that was pretty cool. I like seeing the Pikes as well. And I thought like the mining stuff, like the sequence was pretty fun. It was something original, something unique. It reminded me of like Donkey Kong, like the mining level, jumping around the mine cart, different tracks. Like that was pretty cool. With that being said, you guys already all the negative I was talking about. But when it comes down to it, this episode just didn't feel satisfying. When I came away from this episode, I was like, okay, so like we ended at the same point that we started initially. Nothing really changed for anyone or any situation. And at the current juncture where we are more in the latter half of the season, it should have been more placed in the beginning if it was my decision. Of course, I have no idea what's coming. And I know this will factor in eventually. That guy, like you said, Ben, will probably save somebody at one point. But currently, when we have multiple episodes like this, maybe they should have put it in another season where they don't have as many already that feel like they're leading into something way, way further down the road. So with that being said, I gotta give it a score of a 4 out of 10. The animation still holds up, the sound still holds up. It's just the overall plot details really make this just a miss for me. I'll throw it over to Milton.
Yeah, I have to echo everything you said, Chris. Animation's always on point. I mean, it's a good-looking show. Every scene that they're in is well shot. They are definitely proficient at making this show look great. Music's always awesome. Kevin Kiner's the guy when it comes to Star Wars music. Love seeing the Pikes. Again, I'll give the animation team credit on trying to introduce a new character. But again, if you're introducing a new character, make that person matter. Overall, I thought we are where we are. We stayed in the same position where we started. So honestly, I was very bored by this episode. So I have to go 3 out of 10.
Okay, so it's not the worst episode you ever seen. Remember, you gave something a 1.5.
Yeah.
So it's still in the middle, lower part for you. But Ben, what about you? Where does this rank up in all the Bad Batch episodes so far? And I will say before I'm going to interject this. For those of you that weren't keeping track of the score, this is my least favorite episode of the Bad Batch so far. And I'll throw it over to Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I can echo like all of our points we've complained about in this episode. It was really bad, in my opinion. Like, again, the only good part of the episode really was the Pike character. He was great. Like, the voice actor was great. Whoever played the Pike, hats off to him. He was great. Of course, the animation, all that was really nice. But the Bad Batch and Omega, they just stayed in one spot. I mean, and then Sid even, for example, her character took a step back. Like, her character, in my opinion, for being kind of like a slimy person or Trandoshan, like, why? Like, I feel like she should have double-crossed them or just something. But nope. So, I don't know. I just thought it was real choppy, real bad. As for obviously all the reasons I said earlier, but For me, I think it was the worst episode of the whole series. I do. Like, and I don't even think it's like close at all. Just because of where the episode was placed. If this episode was episode 2 of the season, my score would be higher, but I have to give this a 2 out of 10. Like, I think was bad, and I hope they improve. And again, my problem with it's just this episode being placed this far into the series, like, really put a huge ding on the series for me, because now, as we said, it doesn't even make me very excited for the final 3 episodes. Like, next week's title's War Mantle, but it's like, okay, like, what are we going to get? Is it going to be just something like, just, I don't know, it could be a big letdown. Like, I hope it's not. And then, as you mentioned, Chris, there's so many unanswered storylines. Like, you have the Kaminoans, you have the Crosshair stuff coming back up, and all this, the potential feud between the Kaminoans, like, all these things. And it's like, in my opinion, you're not going to be able to answer those in the final 3 episodes unless next week we just get a big exposition dump, and like maybe one of the Kaminoans get taken out really quick. So maybe that'll wrap that storyline in one blaster bolt. Right. So like, other than that, I just think they've really, really backed themselves into a corner, because even if we wrap a bunch of those storylines next week, like in the potential final 2 episodes, as I said earlier, are they going to just shoehorn in Boba Fett? Because we've gotten Boba Fett name dropped quite a bit in this series, and especially with the big reveal of Omega being his sister. Like, I do feel like they're going to meet at some point. What are we going to get? Boba just shoehorned into the final 2 episodes just to basically be like, hey guys, Boba Fett, look, and while you're at it, the book of Boba Fett comes out this December. So like, are the final 2 episodes basically just going to be like an advertisement for your Book of Boba Fett show?
Yeah.
So that's my big concern going into the final 3 episodes. I hope they're great, but I think we're in some really rough waters at the moment.
Yeah. I think you kind of alluded to it best, Ben, where it's like, unfortunately, they got to the point where like this episode really detracted from my enthusiasm with this series. Like, when I sat down and I was already halfway through this episode, I felt like, okay, this is like, unless something amazing happens, this is going to be another one of those episodes. And I'm just sitting there thinking about how great Loki was. And I know it's another medium completely, it's live action and it's an event series, but I'm sitting there thinking about how every week I watched Loki, how every week I was so satisfied, so excited to see the next episode. And what this was is completely opposite. I'm just like, kind of like, oh, it's another Friday morning. I'll just sit down and watch another Bad Batch episode. Like my excitement level went like through the roof when this show first came out, and now it's like, oh, it's just another Friday. I guess I'll watch Bad Batch before work. It's like nothing special anymore.
It's becoming a chore now.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect word for it, Milton. A chore, and that's literally what it's getting. That's perfect description for it.
And here's my other example. I don't know if you guys are wrestling fans like I am. So I'm a huge wrestling fan of growing up as a kid. It's like for the pay-per-view, they have like, 3 or 4 matches that are really good to start off the pay-per-view hot. And all of a sudden, like, there's 3 or 4 matches in between that are bad. Like, they'll have like the battle gimmick royale, or the bra and panty match that is terrible, or the evening gown match before the main event between Rock and, Hogan or Rock and Steve Austin. It's like, wait a minute. At this point, I have a feeling we're not even going to get Rock versus Hogan for our finale. Okay? Because, like, the in-between filler crap is like an evening gown match between Moolah and Mae Young, and they were terrible wrestlers. So it's like, what are we getting at this point?
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of seeing Viscera versus, Hardcore Holly. I want to see Rock versus Austin, or Rock versus Triple H. Okay, let's get it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, they're gonna throw some big like mind-blowing character or event at the end of the season to kind of like, well, not make us forget what happened in the middle, but maybe like to kind of distract us in a way, like, oh, look at this shiny thing at the end to make you forget about all those episodes you're critical about, because it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like, it should be like well, like consistent all throughout rather than stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. But I feel like that's what's going to happen. They're going to start off the season with a bang. The mid-season stuff was pretty great. And then the end part is probably going to be pretty great. But that's not going to detract from like my final thoughts of what season 1 will be just based upon like my hype levels, at the beginning, middle, and end.
Here's something to throw out there as well. So you got this Durant guy. Maybe this episode, so we got the Pikes, we have Sid, we have all this like potential implications for crime. Okay, sure, you could throw in Boba Fett in the final couple episodes because next week is the Empire stuff. Like, we'll get that.
Yeah.
Then the final 2 episodes are mystery. So what if the let's set Boba Fett aside. I mean, the easiest way to do like the shiny thing for the fans other than Boba, this time period, talking crime, what if you just throw in Darth Maul for some
that's what
Crimson
I was
Dawn
thinking.
for some reason? I mean, throw him in there.
Because Crimson Dawn's already been established at the end of Clone Wars. It was already a thing. We heard him say the words, so
that's a way to.
And now that you have Pikes, now it's like, Pikes are part of the Shadow Collective, aka part of Crimson Dawn. So, yeah, now that you open the door with the crime, you got Bib Fortuna already in there. The pet of Jabba. I mean, we're gonna go there eventually. It's just a matter of time. So I won't be like super shocked if he does show up at this point.
But that's the perfect shiny toy for the fans.
Alrighty, guys. So that is gonna do it for Outer Rim Transmission number 17. On the channel this week for youtube.com/Starrapter, where you can find this video stream if you guys are listening on audio. I put up my review for the Star Wars Legends Essential story, which is Mace Windu in Shatterpoint. I've reviewed that audiobook. Very, very good. I also reviewed Space Jam: A New Legacy, which was not very good. So if you want different takes completely on different levels of my enthusiasm, now's a good week for you to check out both of those videos. And of course, you could subscribe to this YouTube channel so you never miss when we go live. Make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell icon. If you are watching on YouTube, we have the audio version of every podcast over at Outer Rim Transmission. You could search that on any of your favorite podcast catcher, and you will find us there. And we upload usually every Monday, so make sure you look out for the new episodes then. So that is going to do it for me, for Ben, for Milton. You can follow us over with Ben at Real Ben Maynard over on Twitter. You can follow Milton over at Milton Weber 7 on Twitter, and you can find me, of course, at Starrapter over on Twitter. That's going to do it for us. Until next week, transmission end.